Hey, it's Mikey Mason, and if you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance you want to hear this news. My Patreon milestone was met, and so we will be recording the next 8 episodes of the In the Verse podcast, Songcrafting for the Firefly Universe. Marc and I are already gearing up. We start recording soon, so kick back, relax, enjoy this episode, and we will see you for the final 8 episodes of the Firefly TV series in songcrafting form. Thanks. Welcome to In the Verse, Songcrafting in the Firefly Universe. With your hosts, songcrafters, and fellow browncoats, Marc Gunn and Mikey Mason.
Welcome to Into the Verse, Songcrafting for the Firefly Universe. My name is Marc Gunn, the creator of the Firefly Drinking Songs show.
And I'm Mikey Mason, creator of the Beer-Powered Time Machine podcast.
And this is part 6 of our 6-part series. We are rewatching episodes of Firefly. Our goal is to find themes and stories that we can write songs about.
Now, these first 6 episodes were funded by Marc's fans and his Gunn Runners Club, and he had a milestone which made this show happen.
There are 8 more episodes left for us to do of the TV show. Who knows what else there is. If you want us to finish out this series, though, like we do, we really want this to happen. Make a monthly pledge to Mikey Mason on Patreon. Once he hits his goal, we will record 8 more episodes. We'll start planning out, so we should have some episodes through the end of the year, pretty much. So please go over to patreon.com/Mikey Mason.
And I am 90% of the way there. 97%. That's even closer.
Yes.
So, and of course, if you enjoy Marc Gunn's music, you can always make a pledge to support him at patreon.com/MarcGunnMusic.
All right, upcoming shows. Every Wednesday at 11 a.m., I do Coffee with the Celt Father on YouTube. March 8th, I'm at Interstellar Ginger Beer and Exploration Company in Alabaster, Alabama. March 10th is on YouTube, again, Celt Father Evening. I don't do many evening shows, once a month, hopefully. And this one is a public show. Everyone can come check it out. And the following Sunday, March 17th, is St. Patrick's Day. I am a Celtic geek, so I will be playing with my band Kilted Kings at the Hangout in Gulf Shores, Alabama. And then the last 2 weekends of March are at Sherwood Forest Fair. At least one show a day will be at the Brobdingnagi in Bards. April 6th, I'm at Brennan's Irish Pub in Birmingham, Alabama, and April 19th at Interstellar Ginger Beer and Exploration Company. How about you, Mikey?
March 15th to 16th, I'm at BFG Con in Frederick, Maryland. March 22nd, 23rd, Fantasy in Durham, North Carolina. March 29th and 30th through 31st, Planet Comic Con in Kansas City. May 3rd to 5th, Penguicon in Detroit, Michigan. May 10th to 11th, Vision Con in Springfield, Missouri. May 31st, June 2nd, Con Carolinas in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I do online shows every month. I actually didn't do one in February. It's the first time in over 3 years I haven't done a monthly online show. It just didn't work out for me. But you can check my schedule. I don't have one quite scheduled for March yet, but I should. I've got a pretty busy March. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But I'm also looking to Twitch. You can check my schedule at Mikey.
Are you doing? Really?
Yeah.
What's moving you over to Twitch?
Just the thought that, I rehearse fairly regularly. And so one of the things that I've heard is that Twitch is great for getting people to listen to you, getting people into you who wouldn't normally be into your music, but it lets them stumble upon you and find out that you exist. And that's awesome. So, but I've also heard that it's best to just, especially if you're going to do it regularly and during the day or during the week or whatever. Of course, you can have big shows on Twitch. That's fine. But as a regular thing, it's probably better, from what I've heard from Twitch experts. Would that be Twexperts? I don't know. They said use it as rehearsal time. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to be conversational.
I might do that too. I have a Twitch account and I set it up. Matricula talked me into it, and I never did anything with it. So
she is also my Twitch senpai. So There we go.
So maybe we should do is we should Twitch one of these the next show if we actually do this. Wouldn't that be cool? We're talking about doing. Oh my god, that might be a little bit too freaky. I don't know.
They can hear exactly. Are you talking about the recording of the podcast? Because
yes.
they'd hear exactly how many mistakes we make and how much editing makes a difference.
Yeah, right. Well, they probably got that from the first episode. I mean, come on. We had quite a few mistakes in that first episode, I think. I don't know. I think I did an okay job. Who edited? Did you do it? Or I don't remember.
I remember because I didn't do it.
Okay. Okay, there you go.
I think that was the problem. No one edited it.
Yeah, I actually do want to do. I was thinking about the same thing, but I'm trying to figure out. For me, it's all trying to figure out where it fits into everything else I do. You know, I just realized a couple of days ago I could start a vlog over on Facebook. And it's sort of an accidental vlog because all I was doing is I was sending out thanks to patrons, and I did it twice last week, I think, or in the past couple of weeks, and which is more than anything. I was like, hey, is this what a vlog was? Because there I felt like I had something to say. I was like, I want to send thanks. That's really why I'm here. And then people started to come hanging out, and I was like, well, okay, I guess I could keep thanking and talking to people too. And it's sort of a vlog, and interactive, you know. I'm not necessarily singing. I'm just chatting. Which I like the idea of doing that. I don't know. But how do you fit in Twitch into all that too? Practice.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll figure that out too at some point. So,
yeah.
All right, Geek Music News. I do want to send out a big thanks to all of my new heroic patrons. I got 36. I did a special offer on Patreon, and I got 36 new people signed up at the heroic level, and I learned so much about Patreon once again. I also, I was telling Mikey before the show, I accidentally deleted my $1 level. It was a screw up on my part. I was trying to hide it, and I deleted it instead. And it turned out to be a good move because several people decided to upgrade their patronage. Not saying that anything has changed, but it helped. But now I'm like making over $1,000 per month on Patreon, which is just amazing.
Wow.
Plus I got a new CD. It's just for patrons.
You
but
have
still.
never mind.
Yes. But you know, as I recorded. So last week, Mikey, I burned it to a CD, and I put it in the car and just was listening to it on repeat. And as I'm listening to it, I realized it was a good, also proof of concept CD. So I'm going to release it as it is. But I found like one song on there that I'm like, I love this song, but as I'm listening to it, I don't love the lyrics. And so
I've been there, man. I have been there.
I'm going to rewrite it. But this is great because that means, you know, patrons can get to hear the first version of it. And at some point I'll have it. It'll be officially released. I'm looking at like a year or two from now. So I got lots of time to work on it.
Wow.
So yeah. And then the last bit of news of my own is that I'm going to start work on the next Brobdingnagian and Bards album, which should be out as a Kickstarter in July.
Cool.
Oh, and then we have the Blue Sun CD.
The Blue Sun CD, yes.
I was thinking that we should we release that just at shows in December. We should probably officially release it like in April. What do you think?
We have enough. We have considerable stock. I say yes. We should do that. If people want that, we should do that. Let them have it.
Okay. Well, then we'll see about releasing that in beginning or mid-April, somewhere. Stay tuned for that. So mark your calendars, and because we will be talking more about that in the days to come.
Yeah, I'm recording a new album right now. I actually have 2 albums that are fighting to get out of me. One of them is the music from this show, from this podcast.
Really? You're going to do a Firefly album then?
I am dying to finish this. I want to do this series, finish this series so bad. I want to put out an album based on the songs that I wrote specifically for this podcast. I mean, I'm feeling it like hardcore. But I'm also working on another album, February album writing month. I did not do the all 14 songs. Life got in the way. I got a sinus infection, and it made it impossible to sing. And, of course, when I write songs, I tend to sing and play guitar at the same time while I'm doing it most of the time. I don't write them silently, you know?
Yeah.
So not having a voice really affects my songwriting time.
How weird is that?
Yeah, who knew? Maybe if I were, I don't know, a musician. No, I mean, I play guitar. I think calling me a musician is a stretch. Maybe it's humble. There are people who think that I'm all right, and I appreciate them. I truly do. And then also the Varlets. As have I talked about it on the show, the Varlets, before?
Yeah, you mentioned it last time at least. I know you mentioned it last time.
So Sean and I are Will Handsome and Handsome Will, and we are the Varlets, and we're I don't know what we got. Renaissance punk. Nice. We're piratical Renaissance punk, and we actually have decided to do it again. So we'll be playing in July at the Midsummer Masquerade in Ohio, and this may lead to more and more things. We're talking about an album of that. So now we're looking at 3 albums of stuff.
Good for you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's recording. Recording an album's work, brother.
Oh, it is.
So
it is. Even just doing this one that I knew was just for patrons, I was like, man, it's a lot of work. And then, of course, as I finally started planning my next 2 solo albums, and which I haven't. It used to be that I had like 5 albums planned. This is what I'm going to do. Now I have not, and I'm floundering, trying to figure out what I want to do. But this album actually helped. The one the Heroes album really helped on that too, because it made me remember things like why I like having a lot of tracks on an album, for instance, as opposed to even a just 12 songs CD. I kind of like having the 14 songs, and it helps to have certain types of songs, and I don't know. It's great. It's great having a plan, right?
Yeah, my albums tend to line out in general around 10 songs.
Yeah.
And just because I don't know why. Maybe it's that I grew up old school with, rock albums. Pretty much a standard rock album was, between 7 and 10 songs.
Yeah.
Really, on 2 sides of an album. So there are plenty of rock albums that are 36 minutes long.
Oh, I know, yeah. And I always had...
And were great albums.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, okay, so there's in like marketing, the idea is for these albums, it's to make the best possible album. So, I mean, ideally, you would have 10 just hits. I mean, think of like the Greatest Showman album. I don't know if you've heard that, but it's a fantastic album. It's got like 10, 11 tracks or something, and pretty much there's like one, I think, mediocre song. Most of them are just really fantastic. It is top notch. It's not like most like Disney albums, where you only want to hear like 8 tracks on it, and then which are part of the story. And then I don't know. I'm not big into the background instrumental music usually, so I'm like, okay, and I'm done. But this is like a brilliant album, and it is. You're probably right. It's probably only about 35 minutes or something like that. But it's all of it's awesome. Whereas I like the album that I just finished. It's got some really amazing. I mean, I have 14 tracks on it, and it just flows really nice. It's got I like all the songs on there, but I don't know. I guess it just feels more cohesive than some of the albums that I've done in the past. And
sure.
I have so much trouble settling on like a 10-song album. Settling on tracks. I always feel like I'm going too short on it. And it might help that it might be partially also because most of my songs are between 2 and 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. So you're pushing 30 minutes for an album, which is even a harder sell for me. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get it. Any given Ramones album that has 15, 20 songs on it might be 30 minutes long.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's
that's an exaggeration,
best, baby. Punk at its best.
That's an exaggeration, but
I heard an album actually. There was this punk band when I was in living in Austin, and they had I think they had a 12-song album, and it was like barely 20 minutes. I was like, wow. It was hilarious. I don't know. All right, let's get on with the show. We want to review songs from the last episode. So last episode, I wrote a song called "Like a Big Damn Hero."
Yeah.
Of course, the episode was based on the TV show Safe, the episode Safe rather, and this time I decided to write down what it was that inspired me.
Okay.
Life can be tough, and it's tougher if you don't have a lot of good people looking after you, and that's why we have family. It's why we have friends and folks who take care of one another, and they put the needs of you before themselves. And I see that a lot, especially as a parent. Mm-hmm. And so when I was writing the song "Like a Big Damn Hero," it was inspired, of course, by Safe. But the episode is about finding safety and friends who look after one another, for me at least, and like a family. So they take care of you. They are loyal to a fault. And Zoe Washburn knows all about loyalty. She, of course, this is my song I finally wrote for Zoe. Her crew is her family. And you see that in the way she takes care of everyone on Serenity. She's like the backbone, the strength, the person who holds things together, and she will fight and die for her family. Now, she may not have died, but her husband did in the movie Serenity, and he gave her his life exposing a terrible crime by the Alliance. Now, if you haven't read the graphic novels, you probably don't know that Zoe's family grew nevertheless, and she...
spoiler alerts.
Spoiler alert. So, yes, you might want to skip ahead a minute. She gave birth to Wash's baby. Her name is Emma. Mm-hmm. And this is Zoe's song for her daughter Emma on how to survive when the world seems cold and out to get you. So that was my song. And I like how it came out.
Yeah, it was good. I wrote Safe. Now, I immediately want to go back. Every time I listen to it, I want to go back and remix it and remix it and remix it. And I know I need to bring the guitars up. But Safe, for me, was inspired by the feeling that I imagine Simon had, because he had predicated so much of his existence at this point on trying to free River and keep her safe. Right. Literally. And so some of the, I take some liberties with the lyrics and get a little poetic or a little metaphorical. We never spoke of venom till we, felt it. Anyway, so there's that moment. There are several moments in the episode where Simon realizes he's in over his head.
Yeah. But
really the moment that gets me is that moment where she is standing on that pyre they're about to light, and he realizes he can't. There's no way he can keep her safe. The best he can do is to die with her.
Yeah.
And not leave her side. And so he steps up on the pyre and he puts his arm around her. He can't keep her safe, and he's accepted it. And that's what the song is about. I can't keep you safe. It's sad and it's resigned, and it's just one of those moments. But it's also right before he makes that pivotal decision that I'm there. It's just, I wanted to try and capture that moment of despair where he realized there is nothing he can do that will make this better. There is nothing he can do to keep her safe. And then, it's that moment right before he steps up on those planks, and says, light it. I mean, because,
oh, I know it.
So anyway, that's what Safe is about. It's that whole recap of innocence, and then realizing that that this is all stuff we've brought upon ourselves, and there's no way to keep you safe.
Yeah. Awesome. That's an awesome song. I love the sound of it. It's just it's awesome. Fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, let's get to this episode 6. This is the last episode we're going to do in this first part of this series. This is Our Mrs Reynolds, and it was written by Joss Whedon. It's the second episode of the series that is written entirely by Joss Whedon, and by the way, it shows. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Transporting some goods from one location on Triumph to another, the crew is set upon by bandits. One successful gunfighter fight later, and they're dancing and singing in a nighttime celebration. Jane is given a rain stick, and Mal has a wreath of flowers placed on his head, given wine to drink, and pulled to dance.
After Serenity is underway again, Mal encounters a stowaway in the cargo bay. The young woman, Saffron, informs him that she is his wife. Shepherd Book reads up on the local customs and informs Mal that he had inadvertently taken part in the local marriage ritual by accepting a wreath of flowers, drinking her wine, and dancing with her.
Mal has a heart-to-heart talk with the woman. Despite Mal's encouragement to be her own woman, Saffron cooks him a meal and offers to wash his feet. Jane attempts to trade his favorite gun, Vera, for Saffron, and Mal turns him down.
When Mal enters his quarters later, Saffron manages to kiss him. However, her lips are covered with a narcotic, which renders him unconscious. Saffron heads to the cockpit and tries her wiles on Wash. When she's unsuccessful, Saffron knocks him out with a kick to the back of the head.
She quickly takes control of the ship, setting it on a mysterious course and sabotaging the controls, then welding the door shut behind her as she leaves. Running to a shuttle to escape, she meets Inara and tries to seduce her too.
Inara plays along to buy time, but the alarm goes off. Inara compliments Saffron on her skillful lying. After dodging a kick from Saffron, Inara rushes to Mal after Saffron claims she is Malcolm Reynolds' widow. After Inara finds him only unconscious, she kisses him and then collapses after calling for help, another victim of Saffron's drug.
After breaking into the bridge, Kaylee and Wash are able to restore only the navigational system. They are headed straight for a net. Booth explains that the net will probably electrocute everyone inside, leaving the ship to the net's operators.
Mal has Jane shoot a crucial part of the net with Vera, shorting it out. Jane also ruptures the window of the net's control compartment, ejecting the two men inside into space.
Later on, a snowy world, Mal bursts into Saffron's cabin and after an unsuccessful attempt to get some answers, knocks her unconscious.
Back on Serenity, Mal presses Inara for an explanation of her supposed dizziness. Inara thinks Mal knows about the kiss she gave him and agrees to not play with him, but Mal reveals he thinks she kissed Saffron.
So this is one of my favorite episodes. But, you know, when it comes to coming up with a theme, holy God!
Yeah. Okay,
did you have as much trouble as I did?
No.
Okay. Go for it.
This is easily, hands down, the most quotable Firefly episode, ever. Most of the quotes that people give from Firefly, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, if they're on average, if they're quoting an episode and not the big damn movie, they're probably quoting this episode. Mm-hmm. Except for Curse Your Sudden But Inevitable Betrayal. Other than that, this one really hits on a lot of the big quotes. I won't go into those quotes, but if we did, we'd spend a lot of time quoting from this episode.
Yeah.
But I got two themes out of this.
Okay.
Well, three kind of themes, but two. One is family ties. Wash talked early about one of the bandits had family ties. That's why the Alliance set down on Triumph. That's why they couldn't go back and take her back to Triumph, because the Alliance was there. One of the bandits they killed had family ties. So the Alliance was there. So there's this idea of family ties, but that's just a subset of the relationship. This whole episode is about relationships, and then the other part is about assumptions. The whole episode is about relationships and assumptions. The assumptions we have based on societal norms, the relationships or the assumptions we have based on our relationships with people and how we know them, and the difference between the assumptions people make about each other when they're in differing relationships. So, for example, it's the relationships and expectations. There's the Mal and Saffron, right? So there's the viewer, especially in the first part, is making the same assumption that everyone else on the ship is, which is that she's this backwater planet girl who needs, like, as Mal says later to I think it was Washi said, she's a human woman who doesn't know a damn thing about the world and needs our protection.
Yeah.
And they make that assumption about her, and of course it turns out that it's wrong.
Right.
So my whole thing is I see this whole episode as a play on assumptions, the things we assume about her. She assumes that the men will simply easily fall into her spell. She's a beautiful woman, and she's offering herself, and it takes her a while to get to Mal, to get to where she could kiss Mal.
Right.
It literally took her standing naked in front of him
Yeah.
And even then, it took some work. And then she heads up to the cockpit, and she's going to do the same to Wash. And Wash loves Zoe, and she has to kick him in the back of the head. She gives this beautiful eye roll when he's talking about Zoe as he's going to open the door, and she kicks him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
But she assumed he would be much easier. Shepherd Book assumes that Mal will take sexual advantage of her. Mal assumes that Inara didn't kiss him. You know what I mean? There's all these assumptions going on, coming into play, and they just don't.
Yeah.
But then it's juxtaposed with an axiom of the theater. I don't know if you're aware of Chekhov's gun.
No, I'm not.
So the playwright Anton Chekhov said, I believe his name was Anton. I could be wrong.
Right.
He had said something to the effect, I'm going to screw the quote up. He said it in several times, but it's Chekhov's gun. If you introduce a gun in Act 1 or Act 2, then you must fire it in the next act.
Right.
Some people say if you introduce a gun in Act 1, you have to fire it by Act 3. But I think he said if you introduce a gun in Chapter 1, you have to fire it by Chapter 2 or Chapter 3. You must. Well, we get introduced to Vera in Act 2, literally in Act 2, and in Act 3 we get to see Vera get fired. Vera had never been mentioned before.
Right.
Vera, this was, and then we get, see Vera, you get dressed up nice and take you places, or the quote. So that's this whole thing for me is about assumptions and relationships, about because he's really a good man. You're nobody's property. And then there's the foreshadowing. You do sneak about, don't you? And then what she says, I'm to cleave to you. That's how she says we're married. And then aren't we to become one flesh? So that's the way I'm seeing that. And then she says later, you're assuming the payoff is the point.
Yeah.
And it's all about assumptions to me. Anyway, so those are the themes I got: relationships and assumptions based on relationships, and etc.
Yeah, yeah. I had. So I can see that. To me, the one thing that sort of gave me an idea as to where to go with this is Mal's near the last line where he's with Saffron. He says, "I got people with me who trust each other and ain't looking to take advantage of another." That's about what I came up with it. I'll be honest. I like your theme. It's because this was the worst time coming up with something for this. I was just beating my head. To me, it was a nice twist from the other episodes that felt like that had these good themes, but it was, I guess, a little bit more. Nice. It was a great story. It was great seeing the emotional, the relationship, especially with some of the characters who we up until then didn't get to really see much of. I love seeing his relationship with Inara and how the Inara's jealousy, and of course obviously Shepherd Book with the special hell, which is just hilarious.
My favorite book line in this is not the special hell, although that is great. The special hell reserved for people, for child molesters and people who speak in the theater.
Right.
It is when he quotes the church lady, and that he did it. That Whedon wrote it that way purposefully. You have the shepherd, the church guy, who looks at Mal after
isn't that special?
Regating,
I didn't even
goes,
think about that.
Isn't that special?
I never even thought that. That's awesome. I didn't think about that too.
Sorry. Anyway, I interrupted you. Yeah.
No, that's great. That's great. Yeah. So honestly, that's all I got out of it. To me, as I was trying to figure out what to do with this story, I am thinking more on the lines of, instead of writing on a theme, since I might touch on that, but I'm thinking I might be looking instead for a something that will give it that will fit into my set. I have a way I create sets is I use Tom Jackson as a live show producer, he calls himself, and he's created these ideas all about creating moments and during your show. So it's not as much about the song; it's more about the moments. And so I'm want to go to some of the moments that I am deficient in, and seeing if I can create something by creating a moment that makes it relatable to talk about using this episode. But I haven't figured out what that is yet. Obviously,
sure.
Again, I wrote the song. She said her name was Saffron for the Sing a Song for Saffron contest years ago, and that's a great song for this episode. It was all based on this episode.
You should totally add it to the episode.
I will.
I've done that.
I will add this into the notes because I recorded it again for my latest album, As Long as I'm Flying, my new Firefly album. But yeah, I'm going to see if I will add it to that, but I still want to write another one, and I just don't know what to do with it. I'm still not entirely sure.
Yeah.
Are you finding any direction right now?
I have several ways that I'm getting pulled. I really like cleave to you. I like that line.
Yeah.
You know I'm to cleave to you. And then aren't we to become one flesh? And then he said, and then later in that he says, I really wish it was that simple, girl, but. And then I also like, so I'm to lie to you, and she goes, I guess we've lied enough, and Ara says, I guess we've lied enough.
Yeah.
And then where Jane says, where are we headed? And Book says the end of the line, talking about the net. So I like the thought of the whole idea of the Black Widow trope, and it's interesting, but I don't know for sure that I'm going to write a song about Saffron. I know that this is going to be a song about a relationship or relationships, about assumptions, about probably incorrect assumptions in relationships, and I'm leaning
nice.
towards calling it Goodnight Kiss.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Because there's was it Simon says the Goodnight Kiss.
Yeah.
So and other than that, I don't have and of course any and all of that is subject to change, but I really like the thought. I like sometimes I'll take a character approach and sometimes I'll take a thematic approach. You know, I've written songs about a character. I wrote songs about River. Girl in the Box is about River, but it's not by River. And then I wrote Sad Little King of a Sad Little Hill is from Badger to River. So and some of these are, from Mal's point of view or a similar character. But I think on this one, I just don't know. And I don't have a definite direction on it either. Right. And I'm feeling the same way. Although I think that I worry, probably unnecessarily, that you're putting too much pressure on trying to write for a specific moment with this.
You think so?
I don't know. It's just a different writing challenge. And hey, I know you're up to it.
Well, honestly, some of the songs that I've written, I feel like writing them, not necessarily, I'm not talking about necessarily a moment for the show, but I'm looking for a moment for the set. So, for instance, do I go for like a big fun moment? In which case, a good sing-along drinking song type thing, maybe based on the Triumph celebration, the celebration in Triumph. If that would be a good place to write a song, and maybe it's about defeating these bandits and the rewards that we get. There's a possibility for defeating them. Or do I go for it? A moving ballad, maybe. Hey, this is helping me a lot. A moving ballad, an emotional ballad, where I'm talking about a woman who's feeling trapped and lost, and going from the actual perspective that we as the audience see Saffron from the beginning. A woman who's been married off, but she's happy because the person she's been married off to is someone she appreciates, and from that perspective, that's what I mean by the moments. Something that will touch the soul here a little bit, or do I go for something that adds a little bit more instrumental, something a little bit different, or something different from all that? I don't know, and that's what I'm thinking about. But these help. It helps. Gives me some ideas right there as I'm rattling them off the top of my head.
Well, good. Well, I guess there's nothing left to do but break and write our songs then.
Yes.
Or did you want to talk a little bit more? Please talk to me some more, Mark.
You haven't given me an idea yet this time, Mikey. The last 2 or 3 shows, you've told me pretty much what I was writing about, and then I just finished it. That was easy.
You should dress yourself up. You get taken out somewhere fun. Write a big happy fun party song about killing people from a distance or a party at the beginning of the show. I don't know.
That's a good one too. There we go. See, this is working. Come on, throw out more ideas. Quick.
It's too much pressure. Give me a special hell song.
Special hell song. That's good.
Just call it. Well, isn't that special?
Isn't that special? Nice.
So yeah.
All right. Well, we shall see what we come up with.
Yeah.
And I guess we're back in a little bit. All right. Let's go play some songs and write some music and see what happens. All right.
Hey, it's Mikey again. I just wanted to say thanks really quickly to everyone who's helped make this podcast happen, and not just me and Mark, although we'll pat ourselves on the back, but it's our patrons. Your support makes this podcast happen, and thank you so much to all of you. And in my case, especially Robin Abbess and John Woolard, Shouts Out Unicorn, Jeremy Jackson and Jennifer Lewis and James Doster. You have helped me make what I think is some of the best songwriting that I've done in my life in these first 6 episodes. Some of it I'm just blown away by the craftsmanship, and it's because you guys wanted to hear, and I can't wait for the next 8 episodes. Thank you so much. You placed your wreath upon my brow, I danced and drank your wine. Just where does this leave us now? It's hard to define. I was caught off of my guard by a night of happiness. There was something amiss. Alone among the stars, I could not resist you and your goodnight kiss. Ask where are we headed, it's the end of the line. I didn't see this coming, but I should have at the time. We're not who we thought we are, both complicit in this. Years from now we'll reminisce how alone among the stars I could not resist you and your goodnight kiss. Alone among the stars, I could not resist you and your goodnight kiss. You and your goodnight kiss.
Hey there, I want to send out a huge thanks to all of my amazing patrons over on Patreon, including Kimberly K, Jacqueline H, Shelly N, Wendy E, Rachel B, Kamina Duck, Tammy G, Paige, Erica T, Kalira, William M, Garrett R, Randy B, Kristen P, Craig W, Ed P, Karen C, Jerry A, River G, Lisa D, Jennifer B, Brian M, Gina KB, Carol Burrill, Kurt G, Jeremy H, Laura May, Miranda Nelson Designs, Jan and Jim, Jillian B, Josh B, Jimmy R, Jennifer C, Miriam Plant Art, Scott and Melanie, Doris L, Jen W, Kate D, Alexis, Jessica C, James O, Erica R, Marie A, Tim O, Susan H, James R, Les Howard of the Signal Podcast, Stephen C, Lilith Merrick, and Carrie W. Thank you all so much for your amazing support of my music over the years and beyond. So I really appreciate all your support. Here is my song. Bad men, a bird dog in our town, bird dog in our town. Bad men, a bird dog in our town, will lay a trap for them. We're gonna spin a spider web, spider web, spider web. We're gonna spin a spider web, that's how we will catch them. I'll wear a soft cotton dress, soft cotton dress, soft cotton dress. I'll wear a soft cotton dress, a pretty floral bonnet on top. We'll shoot them down in the spider web, spider web, spider web. Shoot them down in the spider web and celebrate our win. A pretty little girl has lured me in, lured me in, lured me in. A pretty little girl has lured me in and declared her love for me. She caught my heart in a spider web, spider web, spider web. Caught my heart in a spider web, now how will this all end? She's leading me to the end of the line, end of the line, end of the line. Leading me to the end of the line, we'll put things right again. I'll break free from her spider web, spider web, spider web. I'll break free from her spider web and never kiss a girl again. Come here, little lady, may I meet you, I meet you, I meet you. Come here, little lady, may I meet you. Guess it begins again. It's all a game of spider webs, spider webs, spider webs. All a game of spider webs and everybody falls in. It's all a game of spider webs, spider webs, spider webs. All a game of spider webs, everybody falls in.
We would love your comments, songs, and lyrics, or links to videos to share in the next show. Use the hashtag #InTheVerse. You can post them on the Blue Sun Tour Facebook page or email intheverse@fireflydrinkingsongs.com.
In the Verse is produced by Marc Gunn and Mikey Mason. Sign up on our website and find out more about the Blue Sun Tour at fireflydrinkingsongs.com/InTheVerse. Naughty girl. You think you're a girl? Kitty meowing.
Just looked at my feet.
Did she?
Yes.
All right.